Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start the presentation of how to compare Six Sigma, Lean, and the theory of constraints. My name is Laura Prado, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. All right. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the explanation of Six Sigma. In general, what we can say about this is that we want to reduce the variation of our processes throughout this Six Sigma. So if we do that, if we reduce the variation, we can conclude that our process will be solved and therefore there won't be any problem about it. How does it work exactly? So we start by defining what is like our problem going on. We do it throughout like the help of some statistical tools. Once we have the problem, we proceed like to measure like how this problem is affecting us like in general. Then we have the opportunity to analyze the information, and finally we create the strategies in order to improve this process that is going wrong at this moment. And at the end we have like a control activity in order to avoid that we are coming back to the mistake, or that if it's working properly, if it has to be changed another time, etc. The main focus for Six Sigma is the problem. So we really want to find out what's the problem that's going on at this time. Also, we have other 5 principles, as you can see here. So we have the consistent and practical approach to reap profitable results. We also involve a strong problem or solving team. So this Six Sigma really involves like the teamwork. This is something that I want to highlight. It eliminates the variation to improve processes. So that's the basic idea of this system. That is, if you find a way to eliminate the variation of a process, then it will be better. It also takes into account the data accuracy, and of course at the end it focuses on the customer requirements. Okay. The next improvement methodology that we are going to talk about is lean thinking. Basically, what we want to do with lean thinking is to remove the waste. We can have in a company 7 types of waste. In this case, we have the example of waste in inventory, in waiting time, in any type of defects of the product, in overproduction, also about the motion and the transportation, and finally by the over processing. So what we are going to do with the lean thinking or lean manufacturing, which is the other name that we use for this, is that we first identify the value of the activity that is going on in our company. So once we identify the value, we try to identify also what's the chain that follows that value. And we do this because in this improvement methodology, we believe that all our processes are linked like as a chain. So as soon as we have a part of the chain that is weak, that's the point where we want to focus. So that's why we also check the flow in order to see how all these processes are working together. And at the end, we rely on our customers and the pool. The pool is a concept in business that we generally use when we want the customer to be part of our production or inventory management, and then we ask them, or we don't ask them, but we use the general communication tools in order to know, or the history of the customers, when exactly the customer will need the product. So in that moment, if we know that, we will be able to give them in time the product that they need. So we're going to try to be as effective as possible. And at the end, well, the purpose is to reach perfection with this lean thinking. The main focus for this is the flow. So here I have a graphic that can explain the situation a little bit. So this is how they find out like the current state, what's going on, what's all the waste and variation that it's around my system. Then, well, of course, we identify the waste, and we also eliminate throughout the same waste throughout some ideas or some differences. At the end, we have a new state where we supposed to have less waste or even zero waste if possible. Okay, and finally, I'm going to talk about the theory of constraints. This one is basically related to the system improvement. So the system known as a chain as well. And here we have all the processes connected together. So if you can see the graphic, you can see that the movement of one person will be impacted by the movement of the other person. So if someone stops, then the whole system will be damaged. How does it work? Well, we first identify the constraint, then we exploit it. That means that we make the most of it. So if we found, I don't know, that our line is taking, is not giving the product that we desire, then we put some more people to work on them, and then we try to produce even more that with the other lines. So the idea is to exploit this constraint. We also do that throughout subordinated processes that can be linked to this constraint. At the end, the idea is to elevate or improve whatever was going on in the situation. And once this is done, it means, like, for example, in order to fulfill this requirement of elevate a certain constraint, probably we do have to have less performance in other activities. So once we elevate certain constraint, we have to focus on the other constraints or less constraints that are a product of this, let's say, correction. So in that moment, the idea is to repeat the cycle. So again, okay, we now identify that these new constraints appear as a result of the fixing issue that we have at the beginning. So now we focus on that one, and we start the cycle again. We identified it, we exploit it, we subordinate it, and at the end we elevate and we start the cycle once again. Here's an example of how the system works because it focuses on the system's constraints. So this is a picture of a system that we can explain with. So for example, we identify that the problem, we think, for example, that the problem is here, so we increase the capacity. So you see there is a bigger circle. But actually what was going wrong was this part of the constraint. So we actually made a change here, but without seeing the whole picture of what was going on wrong. So that's why this kind of system constraints affects our model. Okay, now to talk about some similarities and differences, I think it's important to show you what the literature show us. So this is like a table that give us the most important characteristics of each system. So first we have Six Sigma, then we have Lean, and at the end we have the theory of constraints, or TOC. So basically all of them are related at some point, because our main idea is to identify what is going wrong in our system or in our company, or however, like whatever each methodology wants to express. But the use of one of an or another depends of the main focus of the company. So the idea is to try to identify what are the characteristics that define a system, and then which one are particularly similar to the ones managed in our company. So in the case of Six Sigma, if, for example, within the company values of our place, we have like it's with us the analytical studies, checking the information, the data, whatever. So that then Six Sigma will be a really good option for us. But on the other hand, if we prefer like a visual change, like something that we can see right now, a physical change, then lean thinking will be a better option for us. And at the end, or the third one is that, for example, if we have a system approach that we like everything to be together, and we don't enjoy that much the mixture between I don't know, management and the workers, then theory of constraints may work. Finally, the obstacles that we find in these improvement methodologies are that they address management theory as a secondary or tertiary issue, so it is not like a main focus for them. They also don't address policies, which is quite complicated because, well, at the end, the policies are the base of what we are doing. They don't address how managers are measured and rewarded for process improvements. Well, this is external topic, let's say, of what was going on. But yeah, like managers are kept apart in these three systems. Also, they don't address the general theory of management used by the organization. So it has some assumptions, but at the end, it's not taking the way of the management of each company. So it's actually the company that needs to check, okay, this is how I'm working now, and this is what I want, and this is the system that may work for us. But then the system itself don't take into account the type of management that is driven the company. And finally, they don't address the organization's value, which is similar to the previous point. And well, this is something that the system can fix later, like according to how it works with the people involved in this kind of improvement methodology. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice day.